Hey everyone, it is Thursday, and this week we are focusing on painting doors, windows, passages, and anything like that. So today I'm going to be painting another window, but I'm going to be painting at night again. So hopefully I can stay strong and stay focused and stay awake through this painting and finish it before like 3 a.m. So we will see how it goes. If you're enjoying the content of these videos, please share this project with anyone that you know who might be interested in art or interested in painting or watching someone paint, and I would really appreciate it. So let's do this. All right, so we are back at it. I am painting at night again. I think I'm starting this one at like 11 p.m. So I'm being kind of brutal to myself, but it's okay. I really love painting at night. I've always been a night owl. If you talk to Katie about this, my wife Katie, she will tell you that I can just hit a stride at like 11:30 at night and just cruise into like 2 a.m., either doing some kind of writing work or research work or painting. Working in the studio. Sometimes I just have the most clear thoughts at that time of night rather. And it's been that way for a while. I think I've always been a bit of a night owl, and that's okay. It's hard to be a night owl though when you have young kids and you need to wake up early with them. Katie's actually been amazing with this the last few nights where I'm staying up quite late with these paintings and she lets me sleep in until like 8 or something. So I'm back at it. I'm painting a night painting. And for this painting, I'm focusing on this little tiny window that it's been one of those windows in the house that I've looked at least once a week over the last 2 years of being in this house. And I always think, wow, the light on this window is beautiful. I like the weird placement of this window. If we look back to Monday and Wednesday's painting, and I'm looking through that window opening with the scallop trim, right through that window opening to the right, there's this little tiny window that must have been some kind of window to let in a little extra light in that back porch space that was converted into a kitchen. Now it's just this little tiny portal window that's been painted over, and I highly doubt that it still opens up. It still has this piece of hardware on the side that looks like you could have opened it up at one point, but I highly doubt you'd be able to do that. It looks painted over, and I might break the wood trim trying to open it, so I won't try that. I won't do it. But it's a beautiful looking little window. It's a weird size. It's also in a weird spot. I think the bottom of the window probably starts at like 5.5 feet off of the ground, and then the top of the window probably goes to like 6.5 feet. So it's nice for someone who's a little bit taller like me. I can sort of peek out that window. It's a nice height. But for other people, it's just so bizarre placement for a window. So I think one of the reasons why I'm attracted to this window, and even the kind of composition that I'm dialing in right now in the painting, is it reminds me of some of my favorite paintings. I think the first person that comes to mind is someone who I seem to always be chasing a little bit in my work, Antonio Lopez Garcia. And I've brought him up a couple times already, even in the last 2 weeks of the Summer Paintings Project. If you don't know Antonio Lopez Garcia's work, you definitely should check it out. He's kind of one of those painters who just embodies the sort of monastic discipline of an artist who seems to just be disconnected from the world a little bit and lives this very different type of lifestyle. He just spends his life painting his life and painting his surroundings, and seems to be perpetually curious about everything. He has a ton of bodies of work. Some of them are these beautiful interiors that are in his home, or I believe maybe he has a second home. I'm not positive. So any of you who know Lopez Garcia's process better than me can correct me. But I believe he owns a second house that he just uses as a studio space. And he sets up different arrangements and takes over certain rooms for different paintings that are in process. So the specific Lopez Garcia paintings that I'm thinking of are some of his window paintings that have this sort of green wall around the window frame. And there are a few of these that are painted at night, and the interior of the room is really brightly lit up. And then you get these nice reflections off of the window. But the window itself sort of becomes this weird layering up of experience, because you have the reflection that shows the inside of the room, almost like a black mirror. And then you can see through the window and see the city outside and see lights and the dark sky and different things like this. He's also painted this window at different times of day, like in the afternoon, where you get this almost dark cave feeling on the inside of the room, where the room doesn't have any illumination in it that's making it very bright. But then you look out the window and everything just looks kind of bleached out from the sunlight. So those paintings are fantastic. I absolutely love them. I think about them all the time, honestly. I probably think about them at least once a week. So those paintings are definitely really important to me. There's a few other painters who are dealing with this motif or have dealt with this motif that I really appreciate. One of them is a young painter, Eleanor Ray. I got to see one of her paintings for the first time in a group show in Baltimore, and I've been following her work ever since. I believe all of her work is this really small scale, this, under a foot in size in the longest direction on any painting that I've ever seen of hers. So she has these really small scale paintings, but she sort of just brings the viewer into this really intimate sort of interior space of how she's perceiving the subject matter. And she also seems to be processing interiors through different motifs, different Italian painters, and even some modern painters. Someone like Edward Hopper comes to mind when I look at a lot of Eleanor Ray's work. But they also seem to not be all about painting just from observation. I'm actually not even sure if she does. Maybe she paints from drawings and photographs of being in the space. But they have this quality of remembering a space and sort of consolidating the essential information to create an atmosphere that reveals a more spiritual side to space, to architecture, to geometry. And I love how her work builds upon horizon lines and verticals in architecture and this sort of interior-exterior space, and being able to look through that space and then see something beyond, and really just to have this deep, rich experience of space. So Eleanor Ray's work, I definitely appreciate, and I'm going to keep following. The touch in the paintings, too, is gorgeous. I love the surface. It just seems so controlled and feels like just built up with thin passages of paint, almost veils of paint that really play with a sort of semi-transparency of paint. The paint is almost more in this milky state, this in-between state, not quite transparent, not quite opaque, and it reveals the ground of the painting often. Another painter that comes to mind with this sort of content is Josephine Halverson. Josephine's fantastic. She's just a really generous person. I was lucky enough to have a critique with Josephine when I was at Hofburger at MICA. I had a really great experience with Josephine where she seemed to just know the exact right thing to tell me when I was struggling and trying to figure out who I was and what I cared about and how I should go about making paintings that manifest that in some kind of way. She gave me a really excellent piece of advice, and I'll share it. It was really simple. She asked me some of my favorite painters, not modern painters, but painters that I could sort of trace my lineage through, if you will. So she asked me to think of those painters. And then she said, imagine those painters are alive right now, working, and they're trying to compete with you to get a show at, some gallery. And you want to make better paintings than them, and you're in competition with them. It was just really simple advice, but it actually allowed me to look at their work in a new light and not treat it as some sort of category of painting that's frozen in hard amber or something that I'm not allowed to engage with or compete with or appreciate or revisit the materiality of that kind of work. That was an amazing piece of advice that I got from Josephine. And the paintings that I'm specifically thinking about in relation to this window painting I'm working on are Josephine's night windows. It's a series of paintings that she made, I believe, when she was at some kind of residency in Rome. And it's just a really simple process. It's taking a motif and repeating it over and over. I don't know the exact parameters that Josephine set up for herself in this series, but to me, it seemed like she found a composition and then decided to paint that same painting for a few weeks in a row, or maybe even a few months in a row. And then through repeating that same composition and through mixing those colors organically from scratch every single time, that each painting just has little subtle differences, different nuances of color, different nuances of warmth or coolness, and also the different kinds of textures that are pulled out of the same window. It's a beautiful series of work. I got to see it at Sycamore Jenkins. It must have been in like 2014 or 2015. Gosh, I don't even know when that show was up. Maybe it was in 2016 for all I know. But it was such a great experience to walk from painting to painting and to actually be able to see in a material form the built-up experience of becoming intimate with the subject and doing the same thing over and over. Yet it's not the same. Every single time something different emerges on each canvas. It's almost like hearing live music. If you go see a band play a song or a singer perform a piece, every single performance is going to be a little different. Even if they have it completely locked in and they have worked out all the kinks of the piece, every single time you see them, there's going to be something a little different, a different texture, a different approach. Maybe their mood one night makes the piece a little bit more activated, or maybe other times it has more of a subdued approach. But I gotta say, I think about those paintings pretty often as well. It's a beautiful body of work, and I'm so happy that I got to see those in person. So let's talk about the painting a little bit too. I'm starting to notice that I'm entering back into this sort of painterly approach that I haven't done in a while, where I am feeling really comfortable with embracing loose mark making and not overpainting. I gotta say, it feels really good. It feels great to make a painting in one sitting and to not second guess marks that you make and just do it. And then if it starts to go a little differently than you planned, you just kind of tell yourself, well, I'm going to make another painting tomorrow and I'm just going to trust this process and keep going with it. It's a beautiful feeling. I love it. If you're listening to this and you're finding that you're feeling stuck in the studio and you're feeling like you can't break a sort of habit of working that you've built up, I would say that doing one-shot paintings, premier coupe paintings, or alla prima paintings, whatever you want to call it, paintings that you finish in one sitting, I would encourage you to make some one-sitting paintings and see what happens and do it for like a week or something. I'm already noticing a change in my own approach, and I've only been doing these one-sitting paintings for 2 weeks now, but they're feeling more and more fresh every day. the process of this painting had a fluidity that I was really satisfied with and excited about. And I'm hoping that I can stay in this groove for a while and build on the sense of urgency that you get when you make a painting in one sitting like this, and how it affects the brushwork and how it affects your process and everything. So that's the painting for today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or shoot me a message, and I'd love to answer any questions. So I hope you have a good day. Take it easy, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.